Hey guys, it's time for pickup video number 2, or part 2 I should say. I've been busy the last couple days, so I finally get around to putting part 2 up. One thing I forgot in my last pickup video that I picked up, that last pickup video, that stuff was just awesome. I only went there and I would have picked up the games anyway, but just to get all those systems, and it's just unbelievable. I really can't thank my mom enough. I only paid $51 for all that stuff, and it was just unbelievable. I know they were never going to put that stuff up for sale and they had to get rid of it somehow, but still. The one other thing they have that I would like to pick up there honestly is underneath the counter in boxes that nobody sees and they don't put out, they have an NES Advantage that next time I go I need to pick up. I only make it out there every 3 or 4 months, so, but they're closing in July, so selling it to the new guy, so I need to get out there and pick that up soon. Anyway, the one thing I forgot to mention was Ultraman instruction manual for the Super Nintendo, and they just had the instruction booklet. I am a big Ultraman fan. I have Ultraman Season 1, Volume 1, and Volume 2 on DVD. If you want to see the Hong Kong cases for the VCD versions of a lot of Ultraman series, go check out Cessna Ace channel. He's got a lot. He just put that video up. Also, before I forget, Equilibrium Gaming, I have to give him a shout out. He gave me a shout out in his video, and I really am humble, and I really thank you. Thank you, really. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I'm going to start off with stuff I picked up at local pawn shops. The first thing I picked up was a power supply for my NES and my Super Nintendo. It also works on Genesis. And I picked up an RFI unit that also works on NES, Super Nintendo, and Genesis. What's funny about picking this one up is 2 days after I originally picked up my old Genesis, I went and spent $10 and got a AV adapter for the back of the Genesis to plug in the TV, and I got home and it was for the Genesis 2, which I now own one, but I did not when I picked that up. So I ended up going return that, and I had two choices at Game Exchange, either get a credit or get some games. So I picked up a couple of games, and they both were for the Genesis. The first one I picked up was Space Harrier 2, which I have never played this game. I know it's a Sega classic shooter, but I've never played it. And the next one I picked up, for the same reason I picked this up years ago when I had my original Genesis, Phelios, and that's because I just love that kind of artwork style. This is a great shooter, really great shooter. I love this shooter. And I had $2 credit left, and as you all know, I had a Nintendo 64, and my wife, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned about Nintendo 64, and I almost got that besides the Genesis, but I picked up the Genesis. It's just too many fond memories, the first system I owned. And there were two games she loved on there, Nintendo 64, and I picked one up in a box, and that was Wet Tricks, and I used my $2 credit for that. Now this is a puzzle game where you put land down on a flat board, and you put land down so that every once in a while it gives you water, and you contain the water. If the water gets out and drips on the sides, or if you make a hole in the board and it drips through the board, your water meter fills up. And if your water meter fills up, then the game's over. But at the same time, you have to deal with the earthquake meter, I believe, or land meter, where if you build too much land in one spot, it starts to rumble, and if it gets full, it also is bad for you. They give you bombs to lower the land, but if it's flat and there's no more land built up, it will put a hole in the board, and they give you fireballs to contain it. The water. It's very addicting puzzle game, but also at times can be very, very frustrating. But she loved this. The only other game besides this she loved was the Pokemon Snap, which I did really love. I also picked up a PlayStation 1 game at a local pawn shop, and that was Tigger's Honey Hunt, which my wife likes Winnie the Pooh, and she thought this was cool. So it is complete, and you can never have enough video games, and you never really know when you played out your old games or something, and you want to try something new, and you may plop a game like this in just to try it out. I picked up 2 PlayStation 2 games, and this first one I picked up is a game I used to own years ago. I beat it and I really loved it, and that was Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. And it is complete. The pawn shop, they also have the Greatest Hits edition, but I just picked this up for $2.95. I also picked up for the PlayStation 2 Spider-Man, which it was only $1.95. and it is complete. And I also picked up some Nintendo 64 games. The first one is for $1.95 is Hey You Pikachu, which I do not have a microphone, so I can't play it just yet. The next one we were at the pawn shop my wife found, which I've never heard before. It's from Rare. It's called Jet Force Gemini. For $1.95 I picked up Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. Now, I originally owned the original Turok 1, and I loved that game. Me and my best friends growing up, we played that game for months after we beat it. I mean, the environment in that game, just the way, to me, it did the first 3D game environment so beautifully. I loved that game. And unfortunately, years later, I picked up Turok 3 and was really disappointed, so we'll see how this one plays. Next up is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which I picked up for $2.95. For $1.95, I picked up Ridge Racer 64. And I picked up for $3.95 Star Wars Rogue Squadron, which I have tried this out. And if you didn't know, I'm a Star Wars fan. So now, the last game I picked up from a Nintendo 64, I don't know if this has happened to you, maybe at a pawn shop or garage sale or so forth. Maybe you have the game at home and you don't think of it. Anyway, I must have lost track of my pile, and I had picked up at that pawn shop 2 copies of War Gods for $1.95. So one of these, I'll just make sure they both work, and I'll put one of these in my trade pile. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is when I picked up Wet Tricks and that Nintendo 64 I'm going to show you that my wife had picked up at a garage sale, I couldn't get it to work, and I was like, why isn't the system was a perfect addition? I know it was fine. Why didn't the game work? And inside was a bunch of crud that I cleaned out with a Q-tip. And when you get these older games, sometimes it's not that they don't work. You just got to make sure you clean out all the junk. You know, use rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. I just had to use a Q-tip on that, but there was just a bunch of gunk inside of it. And the last game I picked up for my Genesis at the pawn shop was NBA Jam Tournament Edition for $1.95. I have NBA Jam, and there's not a couple days I go by that I haven't played that game since I got it. Anyway, my wife went around a bunch of garage sales and picked some stuff up, and usually I work when garage sales happen. So, and obviously the first thing she had picked up that I talked about earlier is a Nintendo 64 for $30. And you know, I got one from my mom later on that week at her pawn shop. She gave it to me, so now I have 2, and this thing is in great condition. It also came with 3 controllers. The first one was a standard. It also came with a purple controller and a bluish green controller. And in that box, my wife had thought it was a rumble pack. She didn't pay anything attention to it. And I got home and opened up the box, looked inside, and I've never had this before. It was a Nintendo 64 transfer pack for Game Boy games. I'll have to play with this since I picked up Yars' Revenge, if you see my last video, so I will have to check that out and see what it's like. For $2, she also picked up a PlayStation 2 DVD controller, which I have not had a chance to mess with. And since, you know, I have GameCube games, I haven't been yet to play them because I have no controller at work, so she picked up 2 GameCube Wavebird controllers. And here's what the adapter looks like that plugs into your Wii or GameCube to make them work. And she also picked up 2 plug-and-play TV games, and Thomas the Train and like Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine. And I don't care if this thing was, you know, plug-and-play or not. I would buy this just to put it on display in my TV game room. It's awful. It's just pretty awesome. And I also picked up 2 PC games when we were out. When I went later on that day, I happened to go out and look at a garage sale. And the first one I picked up was 3 Eplin, and here's the instruction book it looks like. And second, the PC game I picked up, I mean, this, I can't believe I picked this up. It was only $5. And that was a sealed copy of Sid Meier's Civilization 2. I'm never going to open this. I'm just going to keep this on display. It's kind of nice having, I love this Civilization strategy series, so I'm going to keep this and leave this on display. I also picked up 5 PS1 games. The cases are pretty bad, but they all were for $1 at the time. Tarzan, I picked up Greatest Hits version of Spider-Man, which I've never actually played this game on the PlayStation 1. Namco Museum Volume 3. The updated version of Frogger, which I know about, but I've never actually tried this game out. It is complete. And lastly, ATV Mania. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my pickup video. I'll probably be doing reviews on some of this stuff. So until that time, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.